Hello and welcome back to part 2 of my Behind the Music for Stronger.
Hold out a little longer. For the love we will grow stronger.
So, a quick recap. We started off by looking at the instrumental and how that was all put together. Then we looked into how the vocals for the chorus were put together. And then we briefly talked about why the decision was made for me to do both verses. So we're going to quickly hop over to the computer and I will talk you through the mixing process of both verses and then briefly touch on the outro vocal chops that were added in. And then if I get time, I would like to talk about the editing of the music video and the designing of the artwork. And then I will let you know the official release date for the track. So let's go over to the computer. So as with the chorus, I will play the first verse how it sounded completely unmixed so you can hear it.
Oh, these times are changing, we're all feeling blue, and our minds are racing, watch our lives turn into smoke. Got me feeling caged in, there's nowhere I can go, and day to day is draining, I don't know if I can cope. Everyone's feeling faded. Devil's got a hold of me, but I won't give up, you'll see. Push that right off my knees, put myself back on my feet.
Hold out a little longer.
So that was completely unmixed. So what I've done for the beginning of this first verse, I've done the same effect that I used for the beginning of the chorus, which is that reverse reverb that I talked about. The only difference that I've done with this one is instead of having it come out of both sides at the same time, I've actually panned the reverse reverb, so you kind of hear it and it goes from one ear to the other and then straight into the middle. That's the only difference that what I've done there. I've added a dark fader as usual onto the backing vocals on the first part of the first verse, and I have also added a dark fader and some EQ onto the backing vocals for the next part of the first verse. And I've added some echo on as well, just to fill in those gaps. And I've also added some harmonies for the end part of that section. I do love harmonies, and there's some echo on here. And then what I've also done is the backing vocals on the Won't Give Up, Dirt Right Off. I've added a guitar amp, it's basically some overdrive I've added to the vocal just to make the vocal more hard hitting on those parts. So then when it's mixed, it sounded like this. Let me just put the effects back on the vocal. So all these effects, the majority of these effects here are FabFilter effects. Then I've used JJP vocals for waves. There's some reverb from FabFilter and a little bit of pitch correction as well. That's what we've got going on there. Let me just lower that. And that sounded like this.
Oh, these times are changing, we're all feeling broke, and our minds are racing, watch our lives turn into smoke. Got me feeling caged in, there's nowhere I can go, and day to day is draining, I don't know if I can cope. Everyone's feeling faded. Devil's got a hold of me, but I won't give up, you'll see. Push that right off my knees, put myself back on my feet.
Hold out a little longer.
And that's the first verse. And then moving on to the second verse, which is the rap verse. An interesting fact is that we actually wrote this song backwards. So the second verse was actually written first. Then after the second verse, the chorus was written. After the chorus was written, the first verse was written. So we kind of did it backwards on this track. So the main thing that I wanted to talk about on this rap verse is the part where it says, they could never keep me silenced. So as you can see, what I've done here on this part is the instrumental cuts out on the word silenced, because I thought it'd be really cool if the music can cut out, so it kind of shows that the music is being silenced, but at that same time my voice is getting louder when I say silenced. And I've added a guitar amp with a bit of overdrive on the vocal, so it's almost as if it's like I'm talking through a megaphone saying they could never keep me silenced. I thought that was a really cool thing that happened there. And I've already spoken about in the previous video about how when I say never see me run from the sirens, then you hear a siren play in the background. I thought that was quite cool, so we'll play that through so you can hear what happened there.
Heart of a lion, strength of a giant. Take aim while I aim for Orion. They could never keep me silent. Never see me run from the sirens. No, no. Pressure forms diamonds, so I'ma cruise through the sky like a pilot. Too many lives cut short by the violence. Now we got us wishing better days on the horizon.
And that is the majority of the second verse and how that was done. If you want to see exactly what I've put on the vocal, I will show you now. So we are using Pro C2 and we're using punchy vocals. Then we're using Pro DS and we're using the female split band. Then we're using Pro G and we're using focused vocals. Then we're using Pro MB, single vocal enhancement. And then we're using the vocal EQ on the Pro Q2. JJP vocals. And then reverb, we're using the vocal rich bass and a bit of pitch correct. And that is basically everything that's gone onto the vocal. So now I want to talk you through my favourite part and the part I'm most proud about on this whole track, and that is the vocal chops at the end. So to do these vocal chops, I used an instrument by Output called Arcade. And in short, what Arcade allows you to do is to add instrumental or vocal samples into Arcade, and then what you can do is you can manipulate those samples. And basically all I did was I took Teddy's a cappella with the chorus, put it in as a sample, and then started chopping bits and reversing bits or double timing bits, and I just had to find a pattern that worked as a whole and sounded quirky, and I was really proud of what I did with this actually. I wonder if it's going to play or if I actually have to show you from scratch how it happened. Okay, it's playing, that's good. So basically what's happening here, let me just put a loop on. So as you can see, that is assigned to this key here. So if I click edit, this right here is the entirety of the chorus. So all I've done is I've selected the part of the chorus where Teddy says love, and all I've done is I've just sectioned off that part, and it sounds like it's like a chop. And what I had to actually do was play these individually on the keyboard. I haven't set up the keyboard now, but what was happening was I was selecting the samples and physically playing it on the keyboard to create these patterns. And as you can see, again, I'll show you what part of the sample was used for the next part. So with that one, what's happened is I've sped up the speed ×2. So in the actual vocal, it's quite slow, the way Teddy sings stronger, but I've just sped it up ×2 just to make it a bit punchier. So you get stronger, stronger. And then I've added that reverse reverb in the background as well here. just to lead into the hold on and take us down. And what I've done on the is I've panned them as well. So if I solo it all, what you're getting is this.
Take us down. Closer, closer, stronger.
And that's the vocal chops and how they were created. So as you can see, each of these notes is assigned to a different part of the sample. And I'll be honest, it was a lengthy process to get it, but once I got it, it worked so well, and it really made a difference to the end of the track. Stylistically, it took the track in another direction. So as well as that, certain ones, so I think you heard here when it says closer, as well as doing the samples in Arcade, I've also added effects like an echo just to really fill in the gaps on that. So yeah, that is basically how the vocals were created to Stronger. So now we've talked about the instrumental, the chorus, the verses, and the outro, and that's the whole of the vocals. That's the whole track basically done. So I would say this track was completed and sent off on Wednesday. Now remember, we had a week to come up with this. So what is that? We got paired on the Saturday. So let's just count Saturday, Sunday, Monday, Tuesday, Wednesday. 5 days this was done in. So from there, I decided to put together a music video to the track, because I felt as though the track was going to sound so much more powerful with a visual to aid it. And because I knew that the song had been written about everything that had gone on in 2020, all I decided to do was take clips from different videos that were already out and then cut them in line with the instrumental. I also did something really cool. So when me and Teddy got paired, I was actually filming the whole process of it. So every time I was on air, I was also filming the process. So what you're actually seeing at the beginning of the music video is actually the live footage of me introducing the track live on radio for the first time it ever got introduced. And then from going into that, then it goes into the music video. And to be honest, all of this stuff was done within a week. The music, the song, and the music video. And like, when you really think about that, then you realise just how much work had gone into this project in such a short amount of time. I'm going to save that as something else because I have a feeling I might have tweaked something. So yeah, now I want to very briefly show you the music video and how the music video was edited. So I edited the music video on Adobe Premiere Pro. Like I said, I used the initial audio from, bear with me, I used the initial audio and video from when I first introduced the track.
This absolute banger right here is a track called Stronger featuring Teddy Matthews, and I hope you like it.
Collaboration generate.
And then into the track. If you haven't already seen the music video, head on over to YouTube or to my Facebook page and it's on there. It does take the song in a whole different direction. And it's a powerful video. So yeah, so basically it's just a whole bunch of clips chopped up. Honestly, this took a lot of time to get right. But yeah, it covers absolutely everything that was going on in 2020. And then all I did at the very end was I just added a quote which I thought was very poignant with the song, and that is, "Hope is the only thing stronger than fear." So, after the music video was done, let's talk about the artwork. So, I designed this artwork and I used Adobe Photoshop to do it. And basically what had happened was the release date was originally supposed to be Saturday the 20th of March. Now, for no fault of mine or Teddy's, but the person that Teddy had doing the artwork, unfortunately the images that they used we weren't able to use, which meant that our release date had got pushed back, and within the time scale I just decided, you know what, I'm gonna have to put some artwork together. So I then just sat on the computer and put this artwork together, which actually worked quite well, I think anyways. So all it is, it's just images of different people from all over the world, and you can see it in the words. And I've just added some extra scratches to match with the font and some scratches on the background. It's very simple, but I always find that the simpler the visual, the more powerful it can be. Sometimes you don't need a lot going on. It says what it is, and it matches the video perfectly. So yeah, that was the artwork done on Adobe Photoshop. And you did just get an absolute spoiler. So the song is no longer coming out on the 20th of March. You can catch the song on Saturday the 27th of March now. Unfortunately, it has been pushed back by 7 days due to the artwork. The artwork is now done. Everything is in motion. You will be able to get Stronger on all digital platforms on Saturday the 27th of March. So look out for that. I do have a couple radio interviews and podcasts coming out beforehand, so also keep your eyes peeled for that. And I guess the last thing for me to say is to say a huge thank you to every single person who supported this track so far. Thank you to every single radio DJ who's pressed play on the track. Thank you to every single person who shared the video, commented on the video, liked the video. It makes a huge difference, and I really do, I'm speaking on behalf of myself and Teddy when I say this. We really do appreciate your support. A lot of hard work went into this project, so it means a lot that you're all getting behind it, saying such incredible things about it and supporting it. It means a lot. So yeah, I just also need to say a very big thank you to Andrew Marston at BBC Introducing in Hereford and Worcester for having the awesome idea of doing a collaborator generator. Thank you so much for asking me to get him involved. It's been my absolute pleasure. It's been a pleasure to work with Teddy Matthews as well. He's an amazing vocalist, and he really did make a difference on this track with the vocals he provided for the chorus. And to be honest, we've managed to make a piece of work that I'm proud of, and it's something that will always now be a part of both of our catalogues, and it's an amazing thing, and it was an amazing thing to be a part of. So thank you so much to everyone who's got behind it. Get behind the track when it comes out on the 27th of March. Watch the video if you haven't already, and just thank you from the bottom of our hearts, and just keep supporting. Thank you.
Hold out a little longer. For the love we will grow stronger. Trying to take us down, we will stand our ground. Trying to come